Hi, this is Shalimar Steinberg, and this morning we're going to be talking about how to create and use different sizes of viewports. Alright, so for this assignment, we're going to go into assignment 6 here, and the first thing we have to do is to download a few things. So first we're going to download the dbsamp.dwg and the first floor block, and we're just going to open those and then save as so we can control where they go, and just put it under your L number or your flash drive. And then close it because you don't need to have it open. So on yours you would save it, but I've already saved it before, so I'm not going to save it a second time. Okay. Now I have those two options saved, so I can download my A-size template if I don't already have one saved in my folder. I'm going to open that. Then I'm going to go into the model space, and I'm going to look at the instructions for a second here. This is the example of what you want your drawing to look like. You may end up printing out this example if you want to. Then you'll also want to look at the directions, and the directions work you step by step through the drawing. So I'm going to be referring back to them as I do the drawing. Okay, so I'm going to go into AutoCAD. The first thing that I want to do is save as, so that I don't accidentally save over my title block, and I'm going to save it as my last name, assignment 6 in this case. The next thing that I'm going to do is go into the big A here and go to Drawing Utilities and Units. This allows me to control which units my drawing is being done in. For the purposes of this assignment, we're going to switch it over to Architectural. So it's going to show us fractional feet and inches. And we're going to move it over to 1/4 of an inch so that it is only rounding to 1 decimal. Actually, let's do an 1/8 of an inch. Okay. It's under Utilities, Drawing Utilities. And then instead of unitless, I'm going to choose inches. There. And say OK. Alright, so then the next step is going to be inserting the dbsamp drawing. So I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I'm going to go to the word Insert, and then More Options. And under that I'm going to browse to where I saved that dbsamp drawing, and I'm going to say Open. And then, in the purposes of this drawing, I want it to come in at 1:1 scale, so I'm going to just leave this as 1:1. I could, however, click Specify on screen and then tell it what size I want it to come in at. I can also explode it as it comes in, which I am going to do with this one. And I can specify on-screen points. I'm going to just let it come in at the 0, 0, 0, which is the base point of the drawing, or the origin point. So I say OK, and now I zoom extents, and you can see the drawing on my screen. When you first put it in, it's going to look like there's nothing there, and that's just because you're not zoomed to the correct part of the screen where the drawing actually is. So this drawing is a complete floor plan of an office, and it has, you know, all the little office things in the different cubicles, etc. And because I've exploded them, when I hover over them, I can see the individual items. This is going to be helpful later because you can hover over them and see what layer they're on. In some of the viewports, we'll be turning off certain things, and you'll need to figure out what layer they're on to turn off. Okay, so then the next thing I'm going to do is go back to my paper space. And in my paper space, I'm going to delete the pink viewport that's already there. So I'm going to click on it once until I can see the grips and just hit the delete key. You can also use the erase command. I'm going to go back to home, and then I'm going to edit the pieces of my title block. So I'm going to slowly double click in, and I'm going to edit the date text. So I'll put 02/01 2019, and then I can just click anywhere on the screen to get out of that. And I'm still in selecting an annotation object, so then I can just go to the next one and select the scale. But in this case, what I'm going to put for scale is as shown, because they're going to vary for the different windows that we're going to do. Then I'm going to name my file the same thing that I named it, so assignment 6.dwg, and just change the drafter's name to my name. And then I can enter because I'm not going to do any more text. Now I'm going to switch myself over to my first, to the layer manager. And in the layer manager, when I scroll down, I'm going to notice that there is one viewport layer already created. That's PS Viewport 1. My directions say that I should create 3 more viewport layers. And so I'm going to create a viewport layer for blue, green, and cyan. So I'll do that really quickly. So one nice thing is that I can just pick this one and base it off of that one, and then just call it PS Viewport 2, and change the color. And I think I said blue for this one. And then I'm going to do the next one, PS Viewport 3, and I'm pretty sure that one is green. And then one more, PS Viewport 4, and that one is going to be cyan, I believe. You'll have to check on the directions to make sure you get the right colors on them. But then I look at my directions really quickly, and it says, okay, on those title block or viewport layers that we just created, we're going to create 7 separate viewports in this drawing. So on viewport 1 layer, we're going to do the one singular viewport, so this rectangular one down here in the corner. So we're going to go back into our drawing, we'll switch our layer over to viewport 1, and then we're going to go to the Layout tab. And in the Layout tab, we're going to choose Layout Viewports, and Rectangular is the kind that we want to do for the first one. And what you're going to want to do is just start it. You're going to want to leave a little room so that you have room for the label underneath. And then start one here. And you want it to take up about a little under half of the space available for height, and then a little under half of the space available for width. And you may have to edit how wide it is later to make sure that you can zoom into the correct size of everything. Then I'm going to switch to viewport layer 2. And on that layer, I am putting the polygonal viewport, so this one up here in the corner. And then back to layout. So the drop down next to rectangular, I'm going to pick polygonal. And then I can start, and I'm going to want to leave enough room for a label underneath that one as well. And I'm going to start it so that it's pretty much even with the edge there. I'm going to go up. And I'm going to go over to about the same width there. And draw my little jog down. And then I would probably want to draw the section there first, but I'm just going to eyeball it this time. You guys can do it more exactly using construction lines if you want to. Okay. And you're just trying to get it to match the one in the example photo. Then I'm going to switch over to viewport layer 3, go back into layouts, and for that one we are doing the drawing a circle and converting it into an object viewport for the solarium. So this one right here. So I'm going to go back into AutoCAD. I'm going to first draw a circle, just using the regular draw command. And then I'm going to go back into Layout and do From Object. And I pick the object that I want to use, and it automatically turns it right into a viewport for me. The final one that I'm going to do is going to be on Viewport Layer 4. And for this, I am going to go back into Layout. And now here, I want to do a specialty one. So I have to go to Layout Viewports, the little arrow right there. And the one that I'm going to pick is 4 equal, but first I'll show you kind of the options. There's a single rectangle, 2 vertical, 2 horizontal, 3 left, 3 right, 3 above, below, vertical, horizontal, and what we're going to do, which is 4 equal. So it will draw them all as separate viewports but attached to each other and the same size. So you say OK, and then I want to start it at about the same spacing here. And I'm going to go over as far as I can to about there. Oops, I went a little too high. So I'm going to redo that. Okay. Let's try that again. I think I snapped to something I wasn't intending to snap to there. So just make sure that you're not accidentally seeing a little snap icon somewhere. Again. Upper corner. The little thing blink into place, of course. So this is one sometimes you have to play with it a little bit. So what I'm probably going to do here is instead I will start it here where I want it and then draw it down, just so that it's a little bit less wibbly wobbly. There we go. Okay, now I have my 4 rectangular ones. So now that I've drawn them, I am going to then insert another piece, which is that first floor scale piece that I was downloading. And that is for these labels. So it's the individual labels. So I'm going to go back in here, go to the Insert tab, choose Insert, More Options, browse to where I have that one saved. Is right here, scale of first floor, and open. Now this time I want to do a scale of 0.25 because that object needs to come in smaller than it was originally drawn in order to fit in this drawing. And I'm not going to bother to explode it right now. I'll explode them afterwards because I want to copy it once I've pasted it in. So I'm going to say OK, and then it pastes it in where it wants to. I must have accidentally unclicked the scale at same proportion because it only scaled it in one direction, not the other. So let's try that again. Either that or I have a corrupted version of it. Okay, so I accidentally put it in somewhere that I can't see now. That's very helpful. Instead, oh, maybe I didn't. This is where you get to see that teachers make mistakes too, obviously. You're right, I did. I just did an oblique line. And I'm going to specify my insertion point on screen so that I have control of where it comes in. So now I can line it up right under what I want to, making sure that it is not snapping to something else. Right there. Then I'm going to copy that one and paste it under each of the other ones that it needs to be in the example. and then I will explode them and slowly double-click into them to change what the text says. So the final step is, once you know what the scale of each one is based on what the labeling is, you're going to go into each one and you're going to double-click into it to open it, and then choose the scale. So this one I think is supposed to be at 1/32 of an inch equals a foot, and then zoom to something specific. I believe it's this section right here. But check the scales on the example. You'll zoom each one to the correct scale and make sure it's centered in the screen. And then in these bottom two, you're going to be turning on and off certain things. So the way that you do that is that first you figure out what layer is missing. So if we look at the example, we can see that if you look at, this is the full version of that same pod, you can see that like the chairs, the desks, so basically the furniture, the labels, and the computers are turned off. So we would double click into that viewport, and then we would go to the layer manager, and there is, over a little further here, one that says new VP freeze, and that means basically that you're going to freeze it only in that viewport. You can also just do it though from the drop-down menu. There's this little picture frame, and it says freeze or thaw in current viewport, so it will only do it in the one that's selected right now. So if I turn off furniture, file cabinets, employee, etc., then I can look in here and see that those things got turned off in this viewport. Okay, that's it for this assignment, and then you submit it.